In a move that has raised eyebrows across West Africa, Ghana's president, John Dramani Mahama, made an unexpected visit to Burkina Faso to meet with Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This comes at a time when the African continent is witnessing a major geopolitical shift, with the rise of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, and growing defiance against Western influence. Why is John Mahama of Ghana in a haste to align with Ibrahim Traoré, marking a decisive shift away from Western powers? Or is he merely acting as a political emissary, possibly even a spy, sent to gather intelligence on the rising Pan-Africanist movement? The timing of this visit cannot be ignored. With the United States recently canceling USAID funding to several African nations and France struggling to maintain its grip on its former colonies, Mahama's approach to Traoré, a leader known for his anti-imperialist stance, sends a strong message. If Ghana were to lean toward the AES, it would be a significant blow to Western powers, particularly France and the US, which have long relied on Ghana as a strategic partner in the region. Is Mahama genuinely interested in joining the new Pan-African wave, or is he merely attempting to slow it down from the inside? Let's investigate. The meeting between Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso and John Dramani Mahama of Ghana raised questions about whether Mahama had been sent by ECOWAS to persuade Traoré and other Sahel leaders to reconsider their stance. Amid growing regional tensions, the visit took on a diplomatic significance beyond bilateral cooperation. The two heads of state discussed several topics, including strengthening ties between their nations and the security situation in the Sahel. Among the key outcomes were plans to establish a daily Accra-Ouagadougou-Accra air link and the construction of a gas pipeline between Ghana and Burkina Faso. The sudden visit of John Dramani Mahama, where he met with Captain Ibrahim Traoré, is taking place same time as the Sahel leaders are charting a new course for Africa's future. This visit comes in the wake of a historic decision by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to quit ECOWAS and form their own alliance, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. Their departure from the regional bloc is not just a political statement. It is a direct challenge to the economic and military control long imposed by Western powers. For Ibrahim Traoré and his Sahelian counterparts, ECOWAS had become an instrument of foreign interference rather than an organization serving the interests of African nations. The leaders of the AES have accused ECOWAS of prioritizing the demands of France and the United States while failing to address the real security and economic challenges facing the region. Sanctions, military interventions, and economic restrictions have pushed these nations to take a bold step towards self-determination. Ibrahim Traoré, in particular, has emerged as a leading figure in this movement, openly rejecting the influence of former colonial powers and calling for African unity based on sovereignty and economic independence. One of the most radical moves currently being discussed by the Sahel Alliance is the creation of a new currency, effectively ditching the CFA franc and the US dollar. Ibrahim Traoré and his allies believe that true independence cannot be achieved as long as their economies remain tied to foreign currencies. By breaking away from the colonial CFA franc and establishing a regional financial system, they hope to free their nations from economic dependency and external manipulation. Against this backdrop, John Mahama's visit to Burkina Faso raises several questions. Is Ghana reconsidering its stance and exploring a possible alignment with the AES? Or is Mahama acting as an envoy for ECOWAS or Western interests, attempting to negotiate with Ibrahim Traoré and other Sahel leaders to prevent a full break from the Western-controlled economic system? Mahama's meeting with Ibrahim Traoré comes at a time when Ghana itself is facing economic challenges and increasing dissatisfaction with ECOWAS. As the political landscape of West Africa shifts, Mahama's visit to Ibrahim Traoré could signal the beginning of a new chapter in Ghana-Burkina Faso relations. But whether this meeting is a step toward Pan-African unity or a diplomatic maneuver to contain the growing influence of the AES remains to be seen. What is certain is that Ibrahim Traoré and his allies are not backing down from their vision of a free and independent Sahel, one that no longer bows to external pressure. At the Cosium Palace, President Ibrahim Traoré and his Ghanaian counterpart, John Dramani Mahama, first held a private discussion. This was followed by a broader meeting involving delegations from both countries, which provided an opportunity to assess the strong cooperative relationship between Ghana and Burkina Faso and explore ways to further strengthen the Ouagadougou-Accra axis. Joint projects were discussed, including a direct flight from Accra, with a Ghanaian domestic airline planning to open a route to Ouagadougou at least once a day. The issue of electricity supply was also addressed, with Ghana considering extending a gas pipeline from Bolgatanga to Burkina Faso. Additionally, discussions covered Ghana's gas production capabilities and the potential for Burkina Faso to benefit from this resource. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has taken bold steps to ensure that Burkina Faso's vast natural resources benefit its citizens rather than foreign powers. Unlike previous regimes that allowed Western corporations to extract gold, uranium, and other valuable resources, while leaving the local population in poverty, Traoré has shifted control of these industries into the hands of the Burkinabe people. His policies mark a clear departure from the exploitative economic systems that have long kept African nations dependent and impoverished. Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's top gold producers, yet for decades, the wealth generated from this resource has flowed out of the country, enriching multinational corporations and foreign governments instead of local communities. Under Western-backed governments, mining companies paid minimal taxes while extracting millions of dollars worth of gold, leaving behind environmental destruction and economic stagnation. Ibrahim Traoré has begun renegotiating mining contracts to ensure that a significant share of Burkina Faso's gold profits stays in the country. Some reports indicate that he has redirected gold revenues toward national development, including funding military efforts to secure the country from terrorist groups that many believe are backed by external interests to destabilize the region. His government has also imposed stricter regulations on foreign mining companies, ensuring they contribute to local infrastructure, education, and job creation. Another crucial sector Ibrahim Traoré is tackling is energy. Burkina Faso is rich in uranium, a key resource for nuclear energy, yet for years, France's state-owned company, Orano, has dominated uranium extraction in the region. The uranium mined in West Africa has powered French cities, while Burkina Faso has struggled with electricity shortages. Under Traoré's leadership, there is growing momentum to nationalize key energy resources and explore partnerships that prioritize African interests. He has also pushed for Burkina Faso to move away from reliance on Western-controlled energy sources, considering partnerships with other nations that respect African sovereignty. Ending the Western strategy of resource extraction, poverty retention. The pattern of Western engagement in Africa has historically been simple. Extract resources, destabilize governments that resist, and maintain economic policies that keep the population poor while a small elite profits. Traoré, however, is disrupting this cycle by ensuring that Burkina Faso's natural wealth is used to empower its people rather than enrich foreign powers. His administration has increased investment in local industries, encouraged youth employment in agriculture and manufacturing, and sought to build a self-sustaining economy rather than relying on aid and loans that come with hidden political strings. Ibrahim Traoré's economic policies represent a larger shift in West Africa, where leaders like him, Mali's Assimi Goïta, and Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani, are rejecting the neo-colonial economic model imposed by France and the West. By taking control of their resources, They are proving that Africa's wealth does not have to mean poverty for Africans. If Traoré succeeds, Burkina Faso could serve as a model for other nations looking to break free from foreign exploitation and build a future where Africa's riches benefit Africans first. Both President John Mahama and Captain Ibrahim Traoré emphasized the urgent need to break down colonial-era economic barriers and strengthen intra-African trade, ensuring that wealth remains within the continent. The leaders explored concrete strategies to streamline the free movement of people and goods, recognizing that true Pan-African unity begins with economic integration. Special attention was given to facilitating the transit of Burkinabe products through Ghana, reducing bureaucratic obstacles that have historically hindered trade among African nations while benefiting foreign powers. Burkina Faso, a nation rich in agricultural potential, plays a vital role in the region's food security. With its high-quality tomatoes, nuts, and other produce in demand across Ghana, discussions focused on removing exploitative middlemen and Western-controlled supply chains that have long stiffened Africa's wealth away from its people. Instead, the leaders explored pathways to empower local farmers, strengthen direct trade partnerships, and build processing industries within Africa, ensuring that value is added before products leave African soil. By reinforcing these economic ties, both nations reaffirmed their commitment to a future where African resources serve African development, not external interests. The meeting between Mahama and Traoré was not just about trade. It was about dismantling neocolonial economic structures and laying the groundwork for a self-reliant Africa, built by Africans for Africans. President Mahama emphasized the importance of collective efforts, drawing from African wisdom. When a neighbor's house is on fire, it is essential to help put it out before the flames spread. He compared terrorism to a cancer that, if not confronted at its root, could metastasize and destabilize the entire region. However, the approach to fighting terrorism is shifting. For years, French troops occupied the Sahel under the pretense of combating terrorism, yet insecurity only deepened. Instead of eliminating extremist threats, their presence largely served to protect French geopolitical and economic interests, particularly the extraction of gold and uranium from the region. Ibrahim Traoré, recognizing this pattern of neocolonial exploitation, took a decisive stand, expelling French military forces and reclaiming Burkina Faso's security sovereignty. With French troops gone, Traoré and his Sahelian allies have sought new, non-Western partnerships to build a security framework that truly serves African interests. These alliances prioritize regional stability over foreign profit, allowing Burkina Faso and its neighbors to take full control of their own destiny. The shift represents a growing Pan-Africanist awakening, where leaders no longer look to former colonial powers for solutions, but instead forge independent strategies to protect their people and resources. As Mahama and Traoré discussed these critical issues, the question arose: will Ghana follow the path of Burkina Faso and its Sahel allies in rejecting foreign military control and embracing true sovereignty? The meeting underscored the need for African nations to unite, strengthen their defense capabilities, and ensure that Africa's security is dictated by Africans, not by external powers with hidden agendas. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, once seen as a pillar of regional cooperation, is now facing its most significant crisis yet. The alliance, which was originally created to foster economic and political unity, has increasingly been viewed as a tool of Western influence, enforcing policies that benefit foreign powers at the expense of African nations. This perception has led to a dramatic shift, with Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger officially exiting the bloc to form their own independent alliance, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. Now, with Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama engaging in direct collaboration with Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the cracks in ECOWAS are deepening, signaling what could be the bloc's eventual collapse. For years, ECOWAS has functioned under the shadow of France and the United States, pushing economic and security policies that have often failed to serve the real interests of West African nations. Instead of protecting the sovereignty of its member states, ECOWAS has been used to impose sanctions, threaten military interventions, and act as an enforcer of Western economic domination. This became evident when the bloc imposed crippling sanctions on Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger after their governments sought greater independence from French control. These actions reinforced the belief that ECOWAS was more interested in pleasing foreign powers than in supporting African-led governance. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's young revolutionary leader, has become one of the most vocal critics of ECOWAS. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has expelled French troops, reclaimed control over its resources, and forged new alliances with non-Western partners such as Russia and China. Traoré, alongside Mali's Assimi Goïta and Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani, has argued that ECOWAS no longer serves the interests of the people, but rather protects the economic and political dominance of France and its allies. Their decision to quit the bloc and establish the AES was a declaration of true independence, signaling that West Africa's future would no longer be dictated by foreign interests. John Mahama's recent engagement with Ibrahim Traoré has sent shockwaves through West Africa. Ghana, traditionally seen as a stable pro-ECOWAS nation, now finds itself at a crossroads. Mahama's collaboration with Traoré raises critical questions. Is Ghana reconsidering its commitment to ECOWAS? Is the country seeking closer ties with the emerging Sahel Alliance? If Ghana, one of ECOWAS's key members, begins aligning with leaders like Traoré, it could accelerate the regional bloc's decline. The meeting between Mahama and Traoré symbolizes the growing realization that ECOWAS has failed to deliver economic prosperity and security for its people. Instead of relying on foreign-controlled institutions, there is a rising call for true Pan-African unity, one that prioritizes African sovereignty, resource control, and military self-sufficiency. The collapse of ECOWAS would mark the end of an era dominated by Western influence over West African affairs. As countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger set a new precedent for economic and political independence, more nations could follow. If Ghana ultimately shifts towards the AES or another Pan-African alliance, it would deal a fatal blow to ECOWAS, proving that African nations no longer need to rely on outdated structures designed to keep them dependent. With Ibrahim Traoré leading the charge for self-determination, and John Mahama now engaging with Burkina Faso, the question is no longer whether ECOWAS will fall, but rather how soon. During his press briefing at the end of the visit, President Mahama reflected on the historical and geographical proximity between Ghana and Burkina Faso. He framed his trip as part of Africa's long-standing tradition of neighbors visiting each other, and expressed his gratitude to President Ibrahim Traoré for the discussions and hospitality. Ghana's departure from ECOWAS to join the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, would mark a defining moment in Africa's struggle for true sovereignty. No longer shackled by Western-controlled economic policies, foreign-imposed security doctrines, and unfair trade agreements, Ghana, under the leadership of John Mahama, would be embracing a future of African self-determination alongside Ibrahim Traoré, Assimi Goïta, and Abdourahmane Tiani. This shift represents more than just a political or economic move. It is the rebirth of a Pan-African revolution that leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and Muammar Gaddafi once dreamed of. A future where Africa controls its gold, its uranium, its oil, and its land. A future where Africa builds its own security alliances, develops its own industries, and dictates its own economic policies without interference from Western banks or the International Monetary Fund. As Ghana stands alongside Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, a new chapter begins. One where African unity is forged not through Western-designed institutions, but through the shared determination of free nations. The fall of ECOWAS is not the fall of West Africa. It is the rise of a new Africa, one that no longer bows to foreign masters, but stands proudly on its own. What do you think about Ghana joining the Alliance of Sahel States? Will you want Ibrahim Traoré to accept Ghana? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.